All right, let's get started. Thank you, Emily. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the kickoff for 10.3, which I think is a very important release because it's the last release of 2017. It feels like we just got started in 2017 and we're already back from a summit. And now we start working on the last release of 2017. And it better be a good one because we have a very big vision for 2018. And of course, you all know we're already starting to work on that and we're doing many things related to that. So that's all very exciting, and everyone else will tell about that next. Last thing I wanted to mention is that in 10.2, which we are releasing on the 22nd of November, we will release Enterprise Edition Ultimate and the first features. And in 10.3 now you will see that, well, there's a whole host of new things going into Ultimate. And I think that's very exciting. It's cool to see how fast we go from something that's existing to releasing features and building upon what we've built previously. So without any doubt, this is going to be a very good release, but maybe at the end, I'll have a better opinion about it. Victor, tell us what is going into discussion in 10.3.
Definitely. So we're focused on portfolio management. It's very strategic for us. It's a new area of product for GitLab. It's going to be an ultimate for 10.2, and we're going to continue to iterate on it, as you mentioned, for 10.3. As always, when we're building GitLab features, we're the first customer or users of these features, and very much so the feature called Epics will be improving on Epics in 10.3. So I know nobody has seen, well, not a lot of folks on the call have seen Epics yet because we still haven't released 10.2, but we're already working on the 10.3 features, or at least scoping them out. And so, on the screen, it doesn't seem very spectacular, but I promise you it is. So reordering issues in Epic. So what that means is inside an Epic, you have a list of issues. You can drag them around. You can say, I want to work on this one before that one. You can say this is higher priority versus another one. So that's really important. We want to move on that within Epics. And there's a lot more in 10.3 with regard to Epics. Comment thread, descriptions, and stuff like that, setting a start date, end date, a lot of things there. But I just wanted to highlight reordering issues because that's new to the concept of Epics. Of course, inside portfolio management, we also want to view the Epics in a roadmap view. It's not as high a priority compared to Epics, but still very important because you have a visual. So we're going to work on Epics first, and then we'll get into roadmap view to get your horizontal roadmap view. You can visualize how Epics will look across time. And I anticipate a lot of us at GitLab here will be creating Epics and using them in the roadmap view. Comment on commits and a merge request. Basically, right now in a merge request, you can have a discussion related to different versions of a merge request, but you can't comment directly on a commit with respect to the merge request inside the merge request itself. So that's a mouthful. But basically, a lot of the customers and teams are telling us that they have these commit-driven workflows as opposed to merge request version workflows. So that's why we're creating this feature for GitLab, and a lot of our customers and users have been asking for it, and it will be worked on and hopefully shipped in 10.3. And finally, just wanted to add a really small thing, but I think is very important, is inline description editing on mobile for issue. It seems like a very specific feature, but why I'm calling it out is that we're working on a lot of features to make GitLab very modern, to look like a web app and not just a website. And then so old websites or web apps, even you click a form, you enter some things, and you hit submit. But you might have noticed by now that if you go to an issue, you can click edit, you can change the title and description, you click save, and everything just works. You don't have to refresh the page. The sidebar has been behaving like that forever. So we're bringing those features to mobile. We're bringing those features to merge requests, and we're just going to keep charging in this direction. And so I just wanted to highlight this particular feature. We're going to in this particular direction. So Fabio, are you on the line? Are you going to talk about CICD?
Yeah, Victor, since that you have a very good roadmap for discussion. We also have one for CICD and 10.3. So you can find the document, the full issue board. You can just look at what we planned. Highlights from this board. First of all, support multiple Kubernetes cluster per project. It is a very, very important feature. It is a next iteration for our Kubernetes GKE integration. So at the moment, you can create a cluster from within GitLab. You can also connect your existing cluster in GitLab, but you are just limited to one. So in case you want to split your deployment environments, for example, keeping production and review apps separated for security reasons, for compliance or whatever, you are not allowed. In the future, with 10.3, you will be able to have a list of clusters configured at the same time for the same project. And so you can put the review apps on one cluster and the production environment on the other one. You can manage all of these clusters from the same page. That is the brand new page that you just created in 10.2. So the CICD cluster page, that is this new first-class citizen of GitLab that now we have. Talking about direction issues, we also have SAST, that is the Static Application Security Testing. It's a very cool feature that will allow users to test security of their applications, their code, directly within a CI/CD job. So while running all the other tests, also security tests can be applied on the code. If something is wrong, for example, you are using a Jump version that is vulnerable, and this is known, this tool is able to spot it and is able to notify you. So in the merge request widget, as a first iteration, you will find the vulnerabilities that your code may have. And so you can address them before merging into master. This is very, very important feature. Another one that is something that is auto DevOps related is an automatic pipeline that will be run as soon as you save the settings and enable auto DevOps in your project. So at the moment, if you enable auto DevOps, then you have to manually run the first pipeline, but it's something that you want to avoid. So make it simple for users to have the first pipeline run as soon as they enable the setting. And then after saving, you will have a link and you can just follow your pipeline and see what happens. It's not enough for 10.3, so we're also working on performance or bug fixes and improving GitLab Runner. So you can find all the issues linked in this document. And that's all for CI/CD. So James, what about the platform?
Thanks, Fabio. We've got quite a lot going on in platform that Mike and I are working on. First up, we've got the bidirectional mirroring support that we're introducing. So currently we have support for push mirroring and pull mirroring, which allows you to push or pull your repository to another location, be it another GitLab instance or a different distributed version control system, perhaps even per force. So what we're looking to do is add bidirectional support so that changes made on GitLab will sync back to the other host and vice versa. And this is a little bit more complicated than push or pull mirroring by themselves, because we need to support changes coming from both directions. So some of the improvements that we'll be adding support for is faster push and faster pull, which together deliver the bidirectional aspect of it. And we'll also be adding the ability to limit push and pull mirroring to protected branches. And this will, I guess, protect scenarios where history is being rewritten, which would immediately break any synchronization situation. And we'll also be beginning work on verifying that bidirectional mirroring support works with Perforce Git Fusion. So customers who are using Git Fusion and would like to move some of their team to GitLab can do that in an incremental way. Mike, I'll hand over to you.
Great, thanks, James. On my side, I'll keep it short and sweet. There's sort of one really exciting feature that we're bringing to CE. It sounds really small, but it makes the world a better place. And that is, today you can obviously rename or move a repository from a group, or you can basically just change its name. And that's great because the Git web interface will redirect and everything seems to work as normal. But what doesn't happen is none of the Git pushes and pulls will continue to work, so they break. So if anyone has got an automated build script, or if you have 50 other developers pulling and pushing from the repository, the world will fall on their head because all of a sudden stuff doesn't work. And we will now basically be redirecting Git pushes and pulls when this happens to projects, which will just keep the world ticking on smoothly as if nothing had ever happened, which I think is fantastic. And then secondly is, we're spending sort of almost 50% of people's time on this release really focusing on quality. So that's bug fixes, that's performance improvements and security fixes, and that's UX improvements. And so these are all the little big details that make GitLab faster, better, stronger, smoother, and all other wonderful superlatives. And with that, I will hand over to who is doing Geo. Is that back to you, James?
It is. Thanks, Mike. So we're continuing to invest heavily in making Geo great in 10.3. And one of the important changes we've made in the last release 10.2 is the switch from SSH-based mirroring to HTTPS-based mirroring. So in 10.3, SSH mirroring support will be removed. So customers who are already using Geo and using SSH have 10.2 to migrate to the new HTTPS system. In terms of improvements for 10.3, we'll be improving monitoring, particularly around Prometheus, so that error rates can be monitored in a Prometheus dashboard. We'll also be adding alert rules that come out of the box so that if there's anything going wrong, there are sensible defaults so that it gets noticed. We'll also be focusing on performance as well, improving the way Geo handles very large GitLab instances through improving the parallelism of sync and rolling out foreign data wrapper support to more and more aspects of the Geo feature. And we'll also be working on the disaster recovery process. Currently, we have documentation for doing disaster recovery using Geo, but it relies on using the Ruby console to change a lot of things. We're looking to streamline that process and start making improvements as we move towards a really great seamless disaster recovery solution in a release not too far away. I think over to you, Joshua.
Thanks, James. That's all really exciting. I can't wait for the Geo improvements to arrive. On the build side for the team, we got some work to also improve the sort of usability of our HA configuration for highly available GitLab clusters. Right now, there is some configuration you have to sort of copy and paste perhaps. And so we're looking to reduce a lot of that configuration where possible and try to centralize that. And so this is going to make it easier to go ahead and spin up HA clusters of GitLab. And really excited to bring that out for folks. We're also going ahead and making further progress on our cloud native version of our GitLab Helm charts. This is the new Helm chart we're working on that has the components of GitLab more individualized in their own containers. This makes it easier to scale as well as, again, operates in a more cloud-friendly manner. So a whole bunch of improvements there, and we're looking to deliver 3 additional containers and their corresponding subcharts in this release, and that should hopefully allow us to launch this in beta by end of year. So we're looking to target the Sidekick, Unicorn, and Rails-based container here in this release. We're also doing some additional foundation work to allow us to eventually get to adding instant SSL support through Let's Encrypt, and part of that will be adding a feature into GitLab CTL where we're able to check the reachability of a particular DNS entry. So if you configure external URL, we can go ahead and validate that that URL is indeed reachable and ensure that if you do try and have Let's Encrypt, for example, go ahead and provision it, it will do that reachability check and it should then succeed. And so we're doing some of this groundwork here for the goal of getting ourselves to having really kind of turnkey SSL support for our omnibus customers, which is really exciting. Some other improvements, kind of the quality of life side of things for installing GitLab and maintaining GitLab. We're now going to go ahead and have more visible warnings when you're using configuration settings that have been deprecated. This will help to hopefully alert folks that perhaps they're using some features that they need to be aware of that might go away or might be changing in a subsequent release, in a major release. And so this will help to advertise those and hopefully help people to adjust earlier, perhaps than say the major release, or get surprised if they happen to jump on board the major release. So some exciting work there to make it easier to kind of manage the application process and make folks aware that they might be in fact using some of these settings. So that's it for the build team. Some exciting things there. I think some really great improvements for our customers. And on the Prometheus side, we also have a bunch of great things we're trying to target here for 10.3. One of them is allowing you to specify your own business metrics. This could be anything from customer service queue depths to conversion rates to the number of new versus returning customers you have, to how the dollar value of people in your carts, anything that matters to you as a business. And if you instrument that with Prometheus, we can then capture that. You can load those queries into GitLab, and we'll now display those on your performance dashboard. And so you can get a nice overlay of your system metrics, your response metrics, so what your users are seeing in their experience in your site, their latency, and then also the metrics on your business health and how that's progressing as well, and perhaps how that overlays with any kind of software releases, which you may have done recently. We're also looking to introduce a new feature, which is directly related to Prometheus, but very much in the realm of monitoring, which is that we want to help provide more insight on performance before code gets into master and into production. And one thing we're looking to do is to leverage some tools that can actually kind of spin up a browser, do some performance testing against your particular website on particular URLs, and then display those prior to the merge request, right? And so much like we have with our code quality feature, we can compare those results of this particular branch against, say, the branch you're trying to merge into, say, master or a particular release branch. And this will give it a really easy way for reviewers and even the developers to know if there's some kind of performance regression, whether it's in latency and things like that, or perhaps maybe like images that are too large. And again, keep people kind of an alert before it gets merged, before it gets into production, and you might end up with a surprise. And so we want to try and, again, have as much knowledge ahead of time for folks and make it as easy as possible for reviewers to be aware of any potential impact, again, as early as possible in the cycle where it's cheapest to fix it. Along with the cluster work you saw earlier on the CICD side, we're also going to be able to allow you to provision Prometheus with a single click into your connected Kubernetes cluster. And so this will make it really easy to go ahead and provision Prometheus and connect it up. And we'll then use the proxy API in Kubernetes. So regardless of where your GitLab instance is, we can connect to it without having to write firewall ports and things like that. So just make Prometheus really, really easy to use, really easy to take advantage of, and a lot of very low requirements as far as any kind of connectivity or network changes. So that's really exciting there to, again, make it even easier to adopt monitoring, performance monitoring in your projects. We'll also be looking to make some progress on internationalization support. So we're looking to target our service configuration page there for Prometheus here in this release. And then we're also doing some UX improvements here as well to improve the UX of the flags that appear when you mouse over a particular deployment. And so they'll be more clear, and the information that's being displayed will have more information on the SHA or the tag, again, more cleanly laid out for folks to use. So some nice UX improvements there, moving the ball forward for our Prometheus dashboard. So that's it from Prometheus. And if there's anything else, I think that concludes our kickoff here. So thank you, everyone, for this. And it's going to be the best release ever here in 10.3 to finish off the year. So super exciting. Can't wait for this release. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in.